I want to introduce you to Jackie and Sam. Jackie is a 4-year-old child who loves cars, music, and toast. Sam is also 4 years old. He loves cars, music, and what do you know, toast too. Jackie and Sam both have Down syndrome. Sam also has autism. Sam and Jackie are similar in a lot of ways, but are a little different in others too. Jackie is playing alone with cars. He loves to drive them, pretend to wash them, crash them, reenacting things that he's seen in real life. Then his mom walks in the room. When his mom says, "Hi, Jackie," Jackie looks up and smiles. He acknowledges her with eye contact and responding to her. When Sam's mom walks in and says, "Hi, Sam," he continues to look at his cars. They are so cool to look at. He sits and spins the wheels over and over. He enjoys the way they look. He also enjoys when his mom's around, so he smiles to himself and hums, but continues to look at the toy. When she sits down to play next to him, wanting him to drive the cars, he turns his body away. He prefers to play with things in a more cause and effect way. Some people call this non-symbolic or non-functional play, like lining up toys, spinning them, or opening and closing them repeatedly. Jackie wants his mom to join in and play, so he shows his mom what he's playing with by lifting it up so she can see. His mom says, "Car!" Even though he can't say car yet, he tries. He attempts to imitate others when he can. When his mom joins in and plays with him, he frequently looks at her to check in to see how she's feeling about all this. He does a great job shifting his attention to his toys, back to his mom when they're playing. Sam's mom labels what he's playing with, car. Sam doesn't attempt to imitate her words. He used to be able to say car, but recently his mom has noticed he stopped doing that. Jackie drives his car back and forth and pretends to park it. What would make this more exciting? Oh, a ramp, of course. Jackie doesn't have a play ramp, but that's okay. He sees a book he can use as a ramp. Jackie frequently uses objects to represent other things, like using a shoe for a phone. This is called symbolic play. Jackie also sees a bright red fire truck on the shelf that he'd like to play with. But oh no, it's out of reach. And he has a really hard time saying fire truck. But that's okay. Jackie points, looks at the fire truck, and then at his mom to communicate, "I want that," and his mom gets it down for him. Sam really wants to play with the fire truck out of reach. He starts to scream. His mom wonders why. Is he hurt? Does he need something? Sam continues to sit and cry and starts to rock back and forth rapidly to calm his body down. His mom is still confused with what he wants. This is because Sam has trouble with verbal communication and hasn't quite learned how to use nonverbal communication modes like gestures, facial expressions, or signs to communicate yet. Jackie, like Sam, has delays in expressive language, but he often uses symbolic gestures and signs to support expressive language, like reaching, pointing, waving, blowing kisses to support his expressive language. Sam's mom knows him best, of course, and remembers that he loves the fire truck. That should make him feel better, so she offers it to him. He focuses on the fire truck as she passes it to him. His favorite part is pushing the button to make the alarm go. He does it over and over and over. He seldom looks up at her to see her reaction. It just looks so cool. Both children have slower than normal development in their speech, expressive communication, understanding, and they might also have other things in common, like hearing loss, challenging behaviors, and sensory issues. And while it's true children with Down syndrome have difficulties in social communication compared with their typically developing peers, when you look at their overall communication profile, we often see that they have relative strengths in social communication and play skills compared to children who are on the autism spectrum. There are also some other clinical signs we may observe that would warrant a referral. A clinical sign we often observe are higher levels of sensory challenge, whether that be sensory seeking or sensory sensitive. This could also pertain to feeding. They could have difficulty accepting new foods or have reduced preferences in a variety of foods, like eating only one food group, texture, brand, color, or temperature. You might also see other behaviors like throwing certain objects, repetitive body movements like rocking back and forth, flapping, and the need to move their body in order to regulate. There are also higher levels of sleep troubles. In addition to sleep apnea we often see in Down syndrome, they could have other things like delayed sleep onset, restlessness, night wakenings, or early awakenings. In some individuals with autism and Down syndrome, we see a pattern of very high speech skills, like saying their favorite dinosaur, Diplodocus, super clearly, with very few speech errors, but this isn't accompanied with equal language, social, or play skills. Another red flag of autism being present is regression. Sometimes we observe a loss of skills. Like we saw earlier with Sam, individuals with autism can go through a period of regression in cognitive, language, or social abilities. In higher instances of behavioral issues, and often they're more extreme and severe, like self-injurious behaviors or meltdowns. Isolated items from this video can be behaviors that are relatively common for children with Down syndrome. However, the more behaviors we see from the list, the more referral may be warranted. If you suspect your child may have autism, the first step is to consult with one or more members of your professional support team, such as your pediatrician, speech therapist, or child psychologist. If they share your concerns, they can provide you with a referral for a formal assessment.